Lifebird podcast. We're going to review Lifeburst. We're reviewing White this time from Vertex Diva. And the first one we're going to talk about is a clear and utter staple. That's Exia, Blessed Angel Queen, a level 3 that has several abilities. It's got the Lifeburst of choose one, return target upped Signy to the opponent's hand, or draw a card. And then the more relevant text is until end of turn, up all your Signy, which means that it gets around freeze, because that's what everyone was worried about. No, I'm just kidding. That is a slight thing that it can also do, but the main thing that it does is when a Signy on your field becomes the target of one of your opponent's abilities or effects, it's Elrig's or Signy, by the way, choose one of your opponent's Signy zones. Your opponent cannot attack with Signy from that zone this turn. It is very good. If you want to go past the turn of 4 or 5, this is probably the only way you can defend yourself on your opponent's turn currently in the game that is any good. That being said, there's still plenty of ways for aggro opponents to get around this. It's more of a mid-range killer than it is an aggro killer. And the way that your opponents can get around this is removing it with their assist Elrigs on your turn, life bursting it on your turn, or in some cases doing attack removal triggers, because if the Signy is already attacking, then you can't stop it from attacking. So these are some of the ways that you can get around Exia. But I would say if you are looking to play the game past turn 4, this would be an incredible draw into White and a reason to make a dream team into White. One of my main reasonings that most of my dream teams currently have White. It's not nearly as good as you think it would be on turn 3 when you want to get it out as soon as possible. Turn 4, it's better. Turn 5 onwards, it's amazing. So that's where it lands. The next one is a Dorman, Blessed Evil Queen. It's a level 3, 12,000 power. It's got a auto ability at the beginning of your main phase. You may put this Signy onto the field from its owner's trash. If you do, add target guard from your trash to your hand. So you can sacrifice this at the beginning of your main phase, and then you can get a guard back from the trash to your hand. Now, why would you do that? Well, its enter ability is discard a guard, and return level 2 or less Signy on your opponent's field to their hand. Okay, so basically you want this to live to the following turn. If you manage to get it to live to the following turn, you get a very good ability in the fact that you can bring your guard back. You have a very limited number of guards. Playing with guards is not something I particularly enjoy doing, but this could be a tech 1 of, 2 of, or something in your deck if you want to do that. Nova sometimes gets an overload of guards, and it doesn't exactly know how to spend those guards, and this could be a way to do that. It is also a demon that does matter for purposes of it puts itself in the trash, and then there's a new piece called Devil's Carnival where you're able to pull a Signy out of the trash and put it back into play. You put it in your hand and then put it back into play, so you get to redo your enter abilities. This will allow you to loop certain effects and is actually maybe a good tech option there, because you just don't bring it back to your hand if you don't need to with Devil's Carnival out. So it's probably a good of 1 of with Devil's Carnival. I think that will be its niche that you'll end up playing. Is it good? We'll say it's viable. It's not optimal by any stretch, but it is certainly viable and something you can do and catch people off guard with. We've got Lapis, Natural Planet. It's a level 1, 5,000, and that text actually does matter, that it is 5,000 level 1. And its life burst abilities return target Signy with power 8,000 or less onto your opponent's field into their hand. This card is incredible. It is a staple. It may not seem like it. Maybe it borderlines on staple and optimal. But level 1s that are good and playable are difficult to run into. In an aggro deck, or some kind of deck that's being a little bit more aggressive, you'll find that this... you'll have more level 1s than you have life bursts, and you need to figure out how way to add some life bursts to your level 1, and this one is pretty fantastic. In a deck that is blue and white specifically, you have a lot of ways to enter deny, not necessarily enter screw, enter deny, and this can be one of the ways that you do that. Between this and Bow High Armed, you can probably run 6 about-ish of these effects, and suddenly you're looking at being able to realistically play 1 per game from the Life Burst. 6 Life Bursts equal basically 1 per game. and you will add this on top of, like, I don't know, your white heaven or your Summer Lives Blues piece, and you've got a real, and maybe even a Tamago beating. You've got yourself a real engine here to specifically enter deny the opponent pretty early on with some of these life burst effects. It is also a 5,000, which is much better than 3,000. It dodges lots of things at 5,000 while being a little bit more difficult and a little bit more sticky to get rid of in the early game. So it also ends up being a pretty good Signy just on stats alone. We've got Ring Light, code Art, and is a Ring Light girl. Her level is 1, her 1,000 power. She has 1,000 power, and she's got 2 abilities. Auto. When this Signy is vanished, you may reveal 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 2 spells from your hand. That's very important. You can draw a card. It's also got a second auto ability, which is at the beginning of your main phase, you can reveal a top card of your deck. If it's a spell, you get to draw a card. So you might be thinking, whoa, this could really be good in a Spells Matter deck. And the answer is no, probably not. Still not that great. Your spells that you usually use in a Spells Matter deck are removal spells or draw card spells. So what you need is your Signy to do other things, not those things, because you've already got those handled pretty well. So drawing some extra cards is not really the answer. So this card is pretty passable, and there's no real payoff for running electronics. There's no real super awesome payoff for running spells right now either. But I'm going to put this one down as viable, and over time, as more and more better Spells Matter cards will pop up, probably going to drop down to unplayable. We've got Lemon Tetra, Phantom Aquatic Beast, level 1, power 3,000, auto ability. Whenever you guard, draw a card. I love the art for this. I'll give it that. I love the color palette. But outside of that art, and I always, for some reason, like that, I get tickled by the fact that there are white aquatic beasts. This is not a great card. This is an okay card. It's probably unplayable if we're going to grade it something. Drawing a card whenever you guard means that you're basically, your chance of drawing a card is 4 out of 40, so 1/10 of a chance to really be able to do it. I mean, I guess you draw 2 a turn, so it's maybe, I'm being unfair, it's 1/5 of a chance, but still, that's not good enough for me to want to play. You have Iris, Blessed Angel. The angel typing is kind of an important typing, so let's see if this is any good. Its power is 5,000. It's a level 2. Its enter abilities reveal the top, or look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 angel Signy from among them. Add it to your hand. Put the rest on any bottom in any order. If you added a card to your hand this way, you discard a card. Okay, so it's a level 2 that basically lets you filter the top 3 for a angel card and discard something. Angels do like occasionally having things in the trash, but they like doing that more on their level 1. Plus you have Gagiel, I know not in the same color, to contend with. So this card is marginal. I could probably put it down as viable. It's also got a Lifeburst, which maybe is a little better because you want your level 2s to have Lifeburst, because level 2s are kind of the awkward child, and you're kind of into them having Lifeburst to justify it. You get the target Signy on your opponent field can attack, and you get to draw a card, which is a passable defensive Lifeburst. So this is a passable card, probably viable. Wouldn't say it's optimal or playable by any stretch, but you could run it. We got Wang Yan, the Blessed General, level 2, 8,000 power. As long as this is in the center Signy zone, it gets Shadow level 3 Signy. I think I'd like this a lot more if it said Shadow 3 or less. Just Shadow 3 Signy means that it's still getting killed by some amount of level 2s. 8,000 is a weird number in the fact that, like, you're going to get blown out by World's Reverse, which is a person doing the removal, which is strange, but it's a player doing a removal. I don't know. Level 3 Signy is just not all-encompassing enough that it really is all that important. It's nice that it stops life bursts, being that it says it just gains the Shadow level 3 Signy. That means that it will, on your turn, also have the Shadow. But, I don't know. I think it's probably not super amazing. I'd pass on it. Viable is my answer. Not exactly unplayable. Here's one that I'll actually say is optimal, but I have no clue where exactly you play this. It's Ant Nest Code Maze, level 2 white Signy with a 8,000 power. Its auto ability is at the beginning of each attack phase, target a Signy in front of this loses all of its abilities till end of turn. That's not why you'd play it. The Lifeburst is why you'd play it. Target a card, draw a card, the Signy in your hand gain guard this turn. So what's interesting here is it allows you, this is one of the few ways that you can, like if they go Endless Punchline and they hit this with a Signy attack, they get real sad because then you can just discard 3 cards and stop the Endless Punchline completely. This is one of the few ways that you can get extra guards, technically. I don't exactly know where it goes though. So I don't know where I'd put this. But it has enough text on it that I like, that I think it probably, maybe it's viable because it has no real home yet, but it could be good in the future if there was certain things that lined up for it. What needs to line up for this to be good? I don't know. But the at the beginning of each attack phase, target Signy in front of this loses all abilities till end of turn is actually a text that becomes better and better and better as time goes on. Like, it can't be assassined through, which matters against X. It also, I think, blanks souls, if I remember correctly on how that works. So it has reasons to exist, and that Lifeburst is a nice one. It lets you save a guard, which means that, yeah, even if you had a guard in your hand, you could cash in the guard next turn at least. So, I don't know. It's a strange one. I'm going to put it down as viable. It could go to optimal if you find the right deck for it. We got a level 3 Signy here. Hung Zhang, Blessed General? That's going to be my attempt at it. It is a 10,000 level 3 with 2 constant abilities. As long as this is upped, it gets plus 5,000 power. As long as the Signy is upped, the Signy on the field next to it get 3,000 power. Okay, so you would have to have a reason to have things up, or play Exia, for example, which this is one of the only payoffs that exists for Exia other than dunking on freeze. But then it becomes a 15,000, and it can make the things next to it, assuming that you put an Exia out there, also a 15,000. It's an interesting one. You probably want to put it in your center lane. It doesn't say that it needs to be in your center lane for its effect to work, but you probably want to put it in your center lane. It's good. It's good. It's sad that it loses that on attack. I wish it had something on attack, but it's a good defender. Like, it's a very good stat wall. I would not play this. Let's put it this way. I'm going to say it's unplayable because you generally want to be attacking in Wixoss, unless you're playing Exia. And if you're playing Exia, I'll bump it up to viable. That's what I'll do. I'll meet halfway. Not even going to attempt to do this. If anyone knows, it's got to be named after some famous sword or something. If anyone knows how to pronounce this, feel free to shoot at me. It's Miranad? Rygon go. This is gonna be just me messing up for 20 minutes straight. Ryon go Minad is gonna be my attempt at it. It's a 10,000 with an auto ability, level 3. Whenever an Elrig on your field attacks, you may down 3 upped white Signy on your field and pay white. If you do, up the Elrig that attacked it loses all abilities till end of turn. Okay, so look. This card's probably also the same deal. I'm gonna do a cop out here. I'm gonna say unplayable. I know it's cheaper, and it's cheaper and it's cheaper than what do you call it? Komai. And it does not require you to play green. But 3 upped white Signy is a difficult ask. You're basically saying it needs to be in a mono white deck. So if you're playing a mono white deck, if you're playing Exia, right, this is card's awesome. If you're not playing a mono white, which you probably shouldn't be right now, and if you're not playing Exia, I would not play this card. But if those things are a thing that you're doing, by all means you should be playing those cards. I'm going to put it down as viable. It's strong enough of ability that it's viable on its own for the reasons that you would do it. You need to play Exia, and you need to be playing mono white in order to pull this off. Alright, we've got Returned Rebirth, which is a strange one. It's a white spell with a multicolored cost, but it does mean that you can play it in non-blue decks if you want, and pay for it with a guard. So that's going to be my one and only time that I tell you that this is a wacky, wacky spell, and when we do the other colors, remember that you can pay for it with a card and get some off-color effects. So let's look at it with that lens in mind. Return target level 2 less on your Signy's field to their hand. Your opponent discards a card at random. The white discard is not a thing that they always get, though you're probably playing this with blue. 3 enter to pay for a bounce spell and discard at random is probably not worth it. I probably would want it to say, return a Signy, draw a card, opponent discards a card, for it to be worth it at 3. I think this is probably worth 2. I think it's overcosted. I think it's an okay spell. I'll count it as viable, but I don't think it's particularly amazing on its own. I don't think it stands out on its own. Even with its good Lifeburst, I actually really like the Lifeburst. Choose one. Target upped Signy on your opponent's field and return to their hand, and your opponent discards a card at random. I always like Lifeburst that say to discard a card at random, and it's an off case for the upped shenanigans that happen, so is the answer. I think you'd be better off not playing with this, so I'll count it as unplayable, just because I really don't like that cost. And that's all the white review. If you guys like this, again, always like and subscribe. Comment down below on how terribly I pronounced this card specifically.